Hello, everyone, and happy 2016. I'm Ganguzza, and welcome to our 6th monthly voiceover rates and digital ad reform roundtable. A huge thank you to my co-host, Mr. Dave Courvoisier. Yay! Woo! And World Voices Organization for their sponsorship of these monthly roundtables. And can I say what a privilege it is to be working with an amazing team of people. Together, we're committed in our mission to be an educational resource for the voiceover community. So we've got a great panel lined up for you today, talking about the latest in international rates. So let me get right down to business and introduce my colleagues. We'll begin with Miss Cristina Milizia, who is president and founder of the Global Voice Acting Academy. She's previously worked as a talent and localization coordinator for Creativity Incorporated. Her responsibilities included casting and directing international talent, contract negotiations, affiliate management, and session coordinating for international projects. She's also bilingual and assisted in all South American and Spanish communication. Thanks, Cristina.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Simone Fojgeil. Let's see if I did that right, Simone.
I did it pretty well.
Okay, thank you. I was practicing, so you can say that once I finish the introduction. Simone is a Spanish voiceover artist who's been involved in the industry for over 25 years, born in Uruguay, and has been living in the U.S. for 10 years already and has built a solid career. And she is extremely active in the VO field for all of those of you that know her. She's one of the most enthusiastic Spanish-speaking members of WoVO. And amongst her other activities, she's the director of the Spanish program at VO Atlanta, a VO coach, and is next to launch the first VO agency specialized in Spanish VO narrators. So I'm very excited to hear about that.
For the learning industry, yes.
Yes. Mr. Dan Hurst. Dan is a bilingual voice talent. His VO career had found its stride back in the 90s. When he began to connect with international companies and producers who needed someone to help tell their story in both English and Spanish. So he's used his multi-language fluency to build up a great client base, including Volkswagen, Coca-Cola, WoVO, and among many others. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Mr. Darren Altman, a voiceover artist based in London, is a trained jazz musician and has a unique understanding of pitch and timing and can deliver a huge range of accents, dialects, and characters, and celebrity impressions. So hold your requests until the end, please. He's played and developed characters for computer games, animations, cartoons, and exhibitions. And his clients include ESPN, there's a tremendous list here, Xbox, BBC Radio, McDonald's, NBC, ITV, the History Channel, and others. Thanks for joining us, Darren.
Nice to see you.
Deb Munro, the VO, also known as VO Chef Deb, located in Canada, recently celebrating 25 years in the industry. So we've got some, wow, long time. Always has something cooking in the kitchen. So a full-time talent coach, writer, demo producer, and life coach and personality reader and more. She loves what she does and is always happy to share her experiences with others. Thanks so much for joining us today. Yeni Alverez. Hi, Yeni. Leading voice in today's growing Latin market, her successes range from the top-rated award-winning Telemundo sitcom, and I couldn't actually pronounce that, so I'll let you do that, to the voice of national commercial campaigns for Albertsons, Target, TJ Maxx, also the Spanish voice of Wild Style in the Lego Movie video game, and also you can hear her on Happy Feet, and currently shows such as Disney's Handy Manny, Monster High, and the upcoming Nickelodeon's Get Blake, as well as Disney theme parks. Thanks for joining us, Yeni. And we have Mehmet Onur, who runs an international VO talent agency in Istanbul and has been working as a professional VO artist for over 20 years. He also runs a production company which produces TV shows, corporate videos, and TV promos. And he's also worked with lots of voice agencies all around the world as well as talent. Thanks so much for joining us, Mehmet.
You're welcome. Nice to see you all.
Wow, so we have a fantastic panel here.
Yeah.
Except I don't think I suit it. I don't speak any other language. Well, American.
I obviously don't either, so that's okay.
And Yeni, I can't hear you for some reason. I just wanted to let you know. Yeah, can everyone else hear her?
No.
I want to, because I've been wanting to meet Yeni forever. Hi, Yeni.
No, we're still not hearing you, Yeni.
Nothing yet.
What about bottom left, Yeni? The microphone.
Check the screen. The bottom left of your screen might let you. No. Okay, well.
Check your settings.
Check your settings.
You know what? I'm going to go outside.
Oh, there it is.
There you go.
Okay.
There you
All
go.
right.
There you are.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, I just pulled the little thing out.
Well, let's get started with our
We are
conversation. I want to add my welcome to Anne's. It's just, it just floors me that the technology allows us to have all these people join in such great quality of video and audio from different parts of the world. We assembled all you people because we feel you have special contributions to this conversation. I'm going to start with Mehmet because it's 11 o'clock in Istanbul. And we appreciate especially his joining us so late because he's got to catch a flight first thing in the morning. So thank you, Mehmet. And you sit at the crossroads of a busy part of this world. Do you see strictly international work from where you sit?
Yeah, of course. As a producer, as a voiceover producer, I'm selling lots of international voiceovers in Turkey because people are selling Turkish people selling their products all around the world. To the States, to UK, to Germany. That's why they need, the production companies need variety of voiceovers in every languages. But of course, the number one language is English.
Okay.
Best-selling language is English.
Well,
then I can tell for Turkey, I'm selling first English and American English first. Second, British English, and third, German and Russian. But we have bad relationship with Russia now.
There you go. Politics always involved.
Yeah, I don't know what will happen.
Simone, let me ask you, you're in Tampa, you're close to the South American market. How much of your work is done in Spanish?
My work or my casting notices?
There we go. The work you do as a talent.
No, I would say that 90% of the work that I do is in Spanish, yes, but particularly for the American market.
So you don't have clients, say, in your home country of Uruguay?
No, incredibly, no. And that is something that hurts me a lot because since I left Uruguay, they consider me expensive now because I live in the United States. And that's, that's a big mistake because non-union rates here in the United States are probably lower than in Uruguay. But since they see me, very active in a first world country like the United States, they think that my rates are 10 times what they charge in Uruguay.
Is it indeed about at that level at 10 times?
That's their imagination. That's what they think. And working for the Uruguayan market is very different than working for the American market.
In what sense? Explain that.
In many senses, because they're very slow at the moment of taking decisions or responding to emails. Or just to give you an idea, about a month and a half ago, I received a proposal from a production company in Montevideo, and I was very happy, oh my God, at last, after all these years, I'm going to do something for the Uruguayan market. And they asked me to do the creative copywriting for a corporate video that they needed for a large company. And I'm not going to say the name or the area of expertise of this company. They wanted me to do the creative copywriting, the translation from Spanish to English, for which I thought that it would be a good idea to hire a third party for doing so, and the voiceover, both in Spanish and English. And they had to pay upfront 50%. That's what I asked. And they agreed, and they paid me, and they were on a super rush. And at the end, they never gave me a reply of what they wanted to do. So we never started. What I did was just the creative copywriting. I don't know if they approved it or not, and I never heard back from them again.
Well, that's frustrating.
So sometimes it's very informal, but of course it depends on the people you deal with. not everybody is the same, not even here in the United States. But here in the States, what I find is that people are more formal and more respectful about your work, about your time, about your expertise. In other countries in Latin America, they see you as they are doing a favor to you for what you do. It's not, it's not the opposite. You know, they don't see you with the respect that they look at you here. That's and that happened to me with other countries in Latin America. They think that my rates, which are very reasonable, because again I'm non-union, they think they're very high, and I'm charging the minimum what I would charge here in the United States, and they think it's very expensive. So it's very hard.
Yeah, Dan, how many international clients do you keep busy?
It's kind of interesting. I was perusing over my end of the year type thing, and I have of my roster, my client roster, I have my international, and I differentiate between international and foreign. I consider those two separate categories.
Okay.
Because of the way they charge and the way they do business. But combined international and foreign, that makes up half of my client roster, but only a third of the business. And so there's about between 60 and 70 active clients.
How do you distinguish between foreign and international? What distinguishes that?
Borders. If I'm dealing with a company whose business that I'm involved in is going to cross international or national borders, then I consider them an international client. And I've learned that international clients pay much, much better than foreign clients whose work is generally local or regional. And in other words, if I'm dealing with a client who's doing something strictly in Zhejiang in China, for example, that's strictly a foreign client because that work is only going to stay in that market.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But if I'm dealing with a Volkswagen, for example, that work is, for example, Volkswagen in Germany uses me in South America. And so obviously that's international client. And obviously the pay is better.
Interesting distinction. I hadn't heard that before. Yeah. Deb Munro, let's hear from you. You're in Toronto. It's an international city. How much work do you see crossing studios, desks in that city that is international?
Well, I'm really an international client, talent. I'm not really a local talent anywhere. I moved here just a couple of years ago, so I'm a local talent to Toronto, but 3/4 of my business is done at home. I do almost everything from home, so it's all over the place. But I would say if I was to put a ratio to it, I do about 40% international. So, but to me, the other 60% is North American, not Canadian.
Right.
It's probably 25%.
How sensitive do you have to be to cultural differences for your foreign clients?
Well, you have to be very sensitive because each one has a different standard. And really what I hear for those that actually are in the international market in a language spectrum as well, or that have been raised in it, it's an expectation. The expectations are completely different from one country to the next. For me, one of the biggest things, a little bit aside from rates, I guess, but at the same time very imperative, I think, to the conversation for me is I am more sought after in the international foreign markets. So I like the way you're using that, Dan. I think that's brilliant. It is. There's the international market and there's the foreign market. In the foreign markets, I'm extremely sought after because of my sensuality in my voice. I have a very sultry tone to my voice. And the Americans think it's slutty and they don't want it unless I'm a male. If I'm a male, I can be as slut as I want. I gotta clean it up for all these women who don't want it there. So my voice, I have to tone it down so much for in the North American market. I have to sound like I'm a little more of a dumb blonde so that I can make it youthful.
That's so funny.
Beautiful. And so with my European market especially, they love my sultry tone. So I love when I get to voice for the European market. They're not as fussy. They don't beat me up as much. I find that I'm in and out in a couple reads and they're like,
what about rates?
Wow, look at you.
What about European rates? Are they good?
Some are, and then some are really crap, you know. So I stayed away from the really crappy ones for a long time, and I will admit I had a really bad lull time last year, and so I got desperate. I'm like, okay, because they approach me all the time, so I'm always no. But this one client I ended up getting was a really low rate, and I thought I'd check it out at least too, so I could at least say, you know, this is what I agree with, I don't agree with. They had a video dubbing project, and the way they had budgeted it out, it would have been over $250,000 for me, and it would have been a 2-year contract. So I look at that as that's a full-time wage for anybody would want to take on it, unless you're too busy in other types of genres that you can't take that on full-time, because it would be full-time. But who doesn't want $125,000 a year, especially if they will take on an amateur type talent to do it? So there can be some big windfalls out of some of the low budgets, the international, or the foreign clients. But for the most part, it's all 5-minute, 15-minute projects. Here's my $5 US a finished minute, whereas another one is really expensive. But one thing I really found, if I could just say on this, was I did a talking toy project for a company in Sweden. And when they asked me for my rate, I gave him my session rate, but then I gave him a buyout rate for usage. I wanted a usage rate for talking toys. I needed to know the quantity, and I wanted to know where that would be priced at. And they were just like dumbfounded that I was asking these questions. Like, well, what do you mean? Isn't it just, here's my $500 for the session? And it's like, oh, no. I need to know where your units are. So I offered what I thought was a fair rate and for the amount of usage. And they were like, wow, that's way too high for us. We can't do it. We negotiated down to something that was fair for between the two of us. And I thought, again, it was really low compared to what I thought it was worth. But when I pitched one of my agents in the States that same project to say, what would the budget have been? I was too high.
Wow.
So I ended up getting more in the end. So as long as I am valuing myself and keeping myself at what I believe I'm worth and my time is worth, many clients will pay it. And those that don't, for me, they're just not the right clients for me. They need to have talent that is more caliber to the fee that they can afford.
Okay, Yeni, before you go, do you have just one more second? Yeni's got she's in a studio where she's going to step into a job right away. Okay. No, we're not hearing you.
Oh, no.
Okay, just real quickly, how do you have to go?
Oh dear.
Do you have to go, or can you answer one question real quick?
I can answer one question real quick.
You do almost exclusively Spanish voice work, don't you?
Correct. I would say that 90% of my work used to be in Spanish. Now it's down to 80, and sometimes even 75, depending on the year. I've been doing a lot of cross-cultural stuff.
And this is for Is this for South American clients, or?
No, this is for the U.S. market. South American clients vary, and the rates vary as well. I try to stay away from the low-paying ones, and I do find out that when they, for example, they called me from a Santo Domingo for a radio station, and the rates there are comparable to the rates here. So it depends on the country for, which Latin American country desires either their Spanish accent, like the Caribbean for the Santo Domingo, or if they want neutral accent Spanish.
And last question, do you find that work through agencies, or do they come to you, or how do you land those jobs?
I do SEO for my website. I do have a lot of friends and a lot of agencies that I work with. And this one, I also looked for people there that I have spoken to before. And I asked them, how do you feel about working with this company? What are the rates there? Can you guide me a little bit? And they were more than happy to help me out.
Okay, get going. I know you're being pressed. Join us back here again if you can.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Hey, Darren, let's ask you a couple of dumb questions. You're in England. You have a lot of clients. Do you work for clients in Germany, Brussels? Tell us about your work.
Yeah, I'm with a lot of agencies and production companies. So I'll get calls from maybe a production company in Germany, Denmark. I did a thing the other day. It was a worldwide TV for the under-19s cricket. And I dialed into, was ISDN to Germany, and then one of the clients was in Dubai, and the other one was Skyping via Sri Lanka. I mean, it was bizarre. So,
did they find you?
Just completely out the blue. like Yeni was saying, you know, the SEO on my website is really quite strong. People are finding me for specifically, you know, now, and I'm very, very proactive. I'm not afraid to, you know, to pick up the phone and call all over the world. It doesn't bother to, you know, it really doesn't. You know, I've got my email all ready to go. I personalize it top, personalize at the bottom. Always call, always get a name. If the person that I need to speak to isn't available, I'll ask the receptionist's name. So all along the way, I'm keeping it personal. And like I said, you know, it pays off because I have people ringing me all over the world. So yeah, it's good.
How do you negotiate rates in other countries? Do you start with that, or is that one of the things you talk about? Or
I'm sure it's the same with everyone here. Sometimes they'll ask my rate and I'll give them a session fee and ask the usage and then, you know, make an informed decision. Otherwise they tell me, you know, a lot of the time they tell me, and it's then it's up to me to decide whether I want to take it or leave it. I mean, I don't know how, it'd be interesting to hear how the rest of the guys feel, but I think the longer I am on this journey, I mean, I haven't been doing it for a massive amount of time. My full-time crossover when I first got my ISDN box was in 2011. Apart from then, I was sort of Mickey Mousing a little bit for the previous years previously. But I think that if you're doing a corporate thing or a web video, I always try and check out the company. Find out who it is. Obviously, if it's a big international client, you know, then you want a session fee, you want usage. Let's not talk about TV. Let's keep it corporate or web videos. If it's a small company, and you know, you can look at their YouTube channel, you can get an idea of how many people are watching their stuff. And if 2 men and a dog are really clicking on it, you know, then am I going to cut up my nose to spite my face? Am I going to demand a full session fee plus usage? No, I'm not. Mm-hmm. A lot of my colleagues will say, well, Darren, how dare you? You know, you're letting the rate slip. Well, I'm not really, because no one's going to see it. Am I comfortable with what I'm charging them? Yes, I am. Will I lose sleep at night? No, I won't. Am I shafting the industry? No, I don't think I am. Obviously, if it gets to a certain point, then you have to draw the line and say, I'm really sorry, I can't do it for that. You know, you need to go.
Right.
But it's about balance. It's about trading off and being true to yourself, true to the industry, and I think, finding out your market as well. Who's going to see and hear your voiceover at the end of the day? That's I mean, if people differ, then I'll be interested to hear.
Okay, Cristina, we have not heard from you. Thank you for being with us today. You coach, you also do a lot of voice work. How much of your work is international?
Well, I come at this from a number of different perspectives. One being a voice talent of 24 years, and one having been the talent coordinator and localization expert and coordinator for a recording studio for 6 years. So I was in charge of all of the talent session, studio contracting negotiations, and currency exchange, and all of the rates and all of that kind of stuff. So I, getting quotes and estimates and then quoting it back for our clients who we were localizing a product for. So, so there's that aspect which I could speak to. I also, on a personal level, as a voice talent, I record a great deal for international clients. I'd probably say 1 or 2 jobs a month at minimum, mostly mobile game apps. Which are actually all mostly out of China and the Asian market at the moment. So I've been working for several companies in Singapore and Hong Kong for over 10 years. And they continually come back. They're some of my most loyal customers, which is great. So I'm not sure which aspect you'd like me to address.
Well, rates specifically. I mean, we're here about rates, and I'm wondering, do you negotiate your own rates? Do you have an agent that does that for you? Do you get that work through agencies? Do you work strictly with production houses? Talk about how you negotiate those rates.
Most of my international clients have found me in some way, shape, or form. Usually it's not through an agency. Usually they just either find me through another product I've done. I've been doing toys and games for, again, 24 years. So I have a lot of material out there. So they've found me through various methods. So I do negotiate all of those independently myself. I have a standard rate that I usually quote for either a toy or a game, which includes a buyout for the product usage. Toys and games are often it's kind of a one-off sort of thing. A lot of times, they have to create it in a very cheap way. Mobile game apps are often free to download and play. So they're not giant high gigs, but they are very steady, which is a nice thing. So there's several mobile game app companies that come out with a new game, every month, every other month. So it's nice regular work. With most of the rates that I quote, I do throw out a rate first. I say, this is my rate, and then we'll discuss it. And usually people are really receptive to that, which is great. And that's pretty much it. Sometimes the negotiations in the beginning take a great deal of work because, yes, there's a language barrier. You have to make sure that the terms that you're discussing, you actually have the same definition in your mind of what those terms mean. Yeah. Recently had actually we're negotiating a international contract right now where our client said, recording time. And in his mind, that meant per finished minute of audio. Whereas I was talking about session time. So little details like that, making sure everything is written out very clearly. Before I do any kind of international work with the client, we have a very specific written out contract saying exactly what the deliverables are, when they're expecting it, in what format, for what rate, what's the rate if it goes over, what's the rate if we do 2 games in 1 hour, what's the rate, if I do additional voices, etc. So what I do is I just make sure everything is written out in OCD detail so that there's no way that we can miscommunicate, because we're going to miscommunicate in some way anyway at some point.
Christina, if you don't mind, I was really interested in finding out what considerations in terms of negotiating a contract, because I think that's probably a very smart thing to do because of possible language barriers and differences. So what sort of considerations, and is that something that you developed yourself?
Yeah, it kind of has been, actually. I just based it off of, because I did so many toys, I based it off of, for mobile game apps, I based it on my toy rates back in the day, because again, it's a cheap format. A toy costs $10 maybe. They have to fit all of this production, and they're only going to sell it for that much, which means their whole production needs to be like $2, and it's going in a 10-cent chip. So again, they're not high-paying things, but they are regular. So I have a flat rate per hour, which is inclusive of any amount of voices that they want. So for a character actor, they get a great deal because they can get, up to 5 or 6 different characters for one game, all done in an hour. And again, I just charge by the hour or by the game. So I have a flat rate for those. And then they can use it really for whatever they want.
If
So
I can just say something as well, Christina, I'm sure you're finding the same thing. Is I find a lot of the clients that are overseas, I'm able to educate them. They actually don't know they have a one price. Well, aren't all voices just this price for this amount of time? And it's like, well, no.
Right.
And I find them very receptive, most of them, that are very receptive to learning about what it is that are the differences, because they just didn't know.
I want to bring
people
up...
are very... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
People are willing to pay. People are willing to pay, for quality. That's what I've found. So I have a whole reel of just my mobile game app material. All I have to do is just send them that little video, and usually there's no question about right after that, because they can see I'm professional. So, yes, it's an education process, and I actually educate. I share all my rate information with my clients, with other ladies going into, talent going into this genre, so that we can, because everyone is now negotiating for themselves out there, the more in terms of standardized rates that we can all communicate and document, I think the better off we're going to be.
I agree.
Wow, what a wealth of information. Thank you, Christina. I wanted to bring up the topic of the mechanics of being paid, because I find there are a number of American talent that are really stymied by this. And Mehmet, I want to bring that question to you first, is how do you pay your clients? By bank transfer, by PayPal? How do they ask to be paid?
Actually, as a voiceover, I prefer wire transfer because in Turkey, PayPal is getting lots of money, taking lots of money.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why I quit.
But so is my bank. For the wire transfer.
That's my thought.
My bank takes a ton for the wire transfer.
Well, as a customer, I can pay to voiceovers that I work with wire transfer, PayPal, whatever they want. No problem for me. But I want to tell you a story. It's a very new story about low rates. I think 1 month ago, a guy from India sent me an email and said, we have a national commercial, and how much do you quote for a national commercial? He said, we also want female voices. One male, one female voice for a national commercial. All lip sync to the picture, and I gave him my rate and said, wow, what? My offer is $150 for both. $150.
I avoid waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Simone, you seem like
I
you've
don't
got
want to be
something
racist,
to
but
say about that. I'd like to hear Simone there too.
I'm getting lots of emails from India, but I'm just replying, I'm sorry. But the funny thing is, they did the commercial in Turkey. I watched the commercial.
Huh.
Somebody did it.
If I can actually add to that, I have a ton of projects because I'm known for some of the international stuff. I'm known as the Canadian talent because there's a specific need for the Canadian talent. I speak neutral, but Canadians don't know the difference. It's only the Americans that know the difference, honestly. So I speak American. They just think I'm Canadian. Anyway, so I'm voicing Canadian, and they oh, sorry, where were you going? I kind of got interrupted in my thought there. There's something you just said that prompted me to say that. I'm so sorry.
India.
In India, they will. Sorry, I'm lost it now. It's so important too. I'll find it. In a minute.
You'll think of it. What about you, Dan? How do you handle the mechanics of the payments? What are you seeing?
Well, first of all, I never deal with India.
Me too.
That's the first way.
Yeah.
I do have some clients. Having said that, I do have some clients in India, but they approached me on behalf of a client who hired them to do. These are e-learning clients, and having known and having a good relationship with that client, I said, okay, I know I'm going to get paid with these guys, and I don't negotiate rates with them. This is my rate, take it or leave it. And if they're a new client, you prepay. And that's just the way it is. And frankly, I don't care. If they want to do it, great. If they don't, I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. I'm happy to do the work. I'll do my absolute best job possible for them. But if they don't want to play my game, we don't play ball. But as far as other companies, whether they're international or foreign companies, what I have found is that it's really very relational. If they really know that I really want to do a job for them that is going to make them look good, they're going to be very, first of all, open to what I have to suggest. And so before I even get into rates, I begin building value. This is what I'm going to do for you. I'm not only going to just voice your commercial for you, but I'm going to help you understand if you're saying it the right way. Certainly with international work and foreign work, when you're dealing with clients who are using a second language translator, they have problems with the grammar, the syntax, and so forth and so on. And I'll just be real honest with them. I'll help you with that. I'm not going to do the translation for you for free. But if there's a little mistake here, I'm going to tell you. I'll give you alts. I will, when I'm recording it, I'll go along and I'm going to say, here's an alt, you might want to consider saying it this way, and I'll do that. So all of those little things add up to value for the client. Having said that, then, when I get to a price with them, they begin realizing we're going to have to pay more, but look what we're getting. Well, the truth of the matter is, I think most voice talents would probably do that, but they fail to sell value into what they're doing. International clients are very value conscious and should be. And so that's how I approach it. As far as taking payment is concerned, I will use bank transfer, but I will add $25 for bank fees. I just tell them right up front, there's $25 charge for bank fees. We'll take PayPal. I'll tell you a little secret about PayPal. PayPal, you can accept payment in the in the denomination of, or the currency of the country. For example, I will take a euro payment to PayPal, and I will accept it as euro payment. And then I will hold it as a euro payment until the rates are better, and then I can transfer it over to US dollars. You can do that with pretty much any currency. And that's a very smart way to do it, because otherwise PayPal will just absolutely rip you a new one with rates. But if you hold it, then you can watch the currency rates, and when the exchange rates are good, then you can make the change.
It's also good. Like I do the same thing, Dan, and the one thing I'm able to value is my assistant is in the States, so I'm able to pay him US funds. Right now I'd be losing 40%. So for me, thank God I have PayPal, which I've had for almost 15 years and never been ripped off, never gotten, but I charge fees for my students. I let them know I'm charging you the fee. For our clients, I incorporate it into the budget somewhat so that it's covered after a while, and it's also a write-off for me, so I have that advantage.
Simone, you had a comment?
Yeah.
Yes, I completely agree in everything that Dan said. And I'm very conscious about the importance of giving a lot of certainty to those clients who do not speak Spanish, for instance, that they're dealing with someone who works with a pure Spanish, native Spanish, and that you can manage other topics that maybe they don't manage because they don't know the language. For instance, to tell them when a translation is properly done or not. When I give them a big red alert when I notice immediately that the translation was made through Google Translate.
Yeah.
And they think that just by doing this, they have the best translation possible, which is not. It's horrible. But I must admit that it got better through the last year because of contributions that people have made. But the translation is not good at all. So I tell them about it, and I tell them I do translations. You can either hire me or hire someone else, but in order to keep a good image of your company, I do not suggest you to use this translation. It's going to damage absolutely the image of your corporation. And they say, how much you charge? I charge this. And it's a very competitive rate because you're doing the voiceover with me too. So instead of charging 25 cents per word, I charge them 15 cents. Of course, depending on the volume of word count, right? Another thing that I offer them is to do adaptation. Adaptation of scripts that need to be dubbed or time-synced. Okay, why? Because Spanish is a language that is approximately 15 to 20% longer than English. So you need to say probably more in less time rather than English. So I tell them, listen, we have a problem here. This is what happens with Spanish. I will be very glad to do the adaptation for you. It is very important in this matter. It is very important that the voiceover talent speaks a pure Spanish, because in that sense, it will provide the right tools and the right terms to substitute others in less time. They need to know the language very well, right? So, that gives a lot of certainty to the client that you're dealing with someone who knows the language and who is capable of providing that service to them. Regarding to PayPal, what I do automatically is to add a 4.3% extra to the total. So everything will be covered. Wire transfer, I use wire transfer with large companies. They automatically offer me that possibility, and I'm very happy for that. And lately I had an issue with a company that is based in Ireland, and they have another sister company in South Africa for whom I record a lot of my e-learning courses. And they wanted to subtract from the total the wire transfer from me, and I told them this is not a good etiquette. It's not right, because it's not my fault that you're there and I'm here. This is something that generally companies have to assume. It's a number that I don't have to pay for, and they agreed.
Right.
But yes, wire transfer is with large companies that manage a high volume of people, and they work with a lot of people overseas.
And if I can just say for anyone who's listening that's not in the industry long, you have to be careful who you give your wire transfer information out to when it comes to foreign countries, because there is a lot of scams out there. So you need to make sure you've got some legitimacy to the company before you start giving out your banking information too.
Great point. Great point.
I remembered what I was trying to say. Can I say it now?
Please.
We were talking about how someone from India, for example, is giving work, and it's actually work that's actually for the States. So, for example, I got an IBM job from India, and I've negotiated with this one company to get my rates. So I work for them because they hire my rates, and I do the same thing. I add on extra for grammar corrections and things like that. But they hire me for IBM. And that IBM went to them because they're from India and they do it for $2 a minute, or an hour, I mean. And so look at this. Here's our country going elsewhere, and it's coming back to our country.
Yeah, not fair.
For a low budget, not fair at all.
Right.
I just tell them, well, look, you get what you pay for, which I know you all know, and that's how you show it to them. This is the value we can offer you. You will get that for $2 a minute, but you're not going to get the same quality, a caliber of talent and read and care and compassion and the value, just as Darren said.
Yeah. Mehmet, you were saying something?
Yeah. If you're buying my voice as a voiceover talent, you're buying the experience, you're buying the quality, I mean, recording quality, everything else. They can find cheap voices in all languages, not in Turkish, not in English. But we are selling actually the quality, the experience. Same as a producer, I want to buy experience. I want to buy quality. That's why I'm working with lots of talents as a voice producer. Some talents we're working together for 10 years because they're happy to work with me. I'm happy to work with them. Same with the voiceover jobs that I get, Turkish voiceovers from the companies. For the rates, I can say, for example, I'm doing Mercedes for 5 years. It's not a perfect rate, but we're doing it for 5 years. It's a stable job. So,
Mehmet, as a voiceover producer, where do you go to find North American talent if you're looking for someone new?
Actually, I have some superstars that I'm working a lot together. Sometimes I look at the pay-to-pay websites, but I'm fine now. I have relationships. Some of my friends, I can ask my friends. I have lots of relations now. I can ask my friends. I can ask help from my friends on Facebook, especially.
Isn't that great? Yeah, it's a good community. Yeah.
I know a lot of the foreign agencies are telling me now that their English American rosters are getting full. So that's not what they're seeking more. They're actually seeking a lot more Atlantic voices now. It's becoming a new international trend is the Atlantic. So almost that Irish for us in Canada be the Newfoundland voice, or so they're seeing that they're saturating in the English American market. Not hard to find voices in. That's the one market that's full.
I'd like to ask Mehmet, and I might have missed it because I had a period there where my internet connection was unstable. Forgive me if you've already said it, but Mehmet, are you finding similar challenges because you also run a production company as you find in voiceover, and how rates are perceived in production? Because I have a lot of production friends here that they're going through the same frustration that I do as a voice talent. What about you for a production company?
What do you mean? Can you repeat the question?
Like for video and for video production, are you finding the same similar frustration in terms of rates and dealing with international companies in production as well as voiceover? Is that a different mentality?
Yeah, but I can say that, for example, the rates in the States are very different. As a voiceover, I'm getting lower rates in the States. I'm sorry, but I'm getting higher rates in the Europe. But same for me. Actually, we have a different system in Turkey. We call it cachet. I think it's a French word. Yeah. So one voiceover is cachet, one cachet. So if you have a version, you have to pay half of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if the voiceover is the same. If the picture changes, you
Mm-hmm.
get 0.5% of it. So sometimes you get 10 versions, 20 versions. I negotiate. It depends on the project, actually. I don't have a rate card as a voiceover.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I quote. If someone asks, how much you ask for a 3 minutes corporate video, I have rate, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But for the long-term jobs like e-learning jobs, I can negotiate, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the usage.
Okay.
Hey, Darren, Simone, we'll get to you next. I want to make sure Darren gets another chance to speak here. So how do you tend to ask for your pay? Bank transfer, wire transfer, what?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give them the option, really. I do a similar thing to Simone. You know, if it's PayPal, I'll bung 5% on, and, you know, I put that in my email. Or wire transfer. It doesn't. I've got, you know, once a month or once every couple of months, I get a delivery man, you know, rock up in a delivery van with a parcel like that. And I open it up thinking it's Christmas morning. And in there is a little check like that, Bahrain, I think. So, you know, I've got some clients out there and that's the way they do things, which is, it's fine, you know. We were talking about, on a British a voiceover forum, talking about payment, and I will generally, I mean, I've got at the end of my email, you know, payment terms 30 days. It's not worth the paper that it's written on, because you know it's just my polite way of saying, you know, this is what I'd like in an ideal world. I might as well say it doesn't make any difference. You know, people will pay you within a day, within a week, within 2 weeks, and you say thank you very much, I appreciate that. Or it'll be a month or 2 months, and if it's longer than 2 months, 3 months, you have to start chasing and doing all that. But I think, as I think Dan said, it's all about relationships and trust. And you know, if it's a company or an agency or production company, then there's an element of trust that I'm not going to get shafted. The only time I will generally only insist on payment up front is if it comes via my website and I don't know the person from, or if it's like a Gmail or a generic address. Otherwise, I just assume they're a legitimate company. And I think there has to be a sort of element of trust on my part. Having said that, I have a friend, and they said recently, and that's fine, I'm not casting aspersions, they said that they will always insist on payment up front for everyone, regardless, and they said that 90% of the time, they never have any quibbles, no one argues, they just say, okay, that's your terms, then fine. People work in different ways. I like to be sort of open and just trust, especially with companies, that you can look them up on websites. A Companies House we have here, and you can see, you know, whether they're legitimate or not. So,
okay, thank you, Darren.
Can I add something to something Darren just said? One of the things that I've noticed is how you accept payment from international foreign companies says a lot about your professionalism, perception of your professionalism, and if I have learned that if I speak to them, and again, as part of building that relationship, as Darren alluded to, is if they perceive me as a very professional company and not as just a voice guy, but if they see me as a company, and I am a company, I operate as a company, I should know, because I am on probation, because I put myself on probation for falling asleep at work one day. So we have those kinds of rules in my company. And they have to understand that I'm a company also, and I operate as a company. And if they get that perception, that usually weeds out an awful lot of the question.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. Good point.
Simone, you had a comment. I'm sorry.
So can I just very quickly, and just to pick up what Dan said earlier in terms of being professional and lay out, set out your stall. When I quote for a job, I have an email ready to go, and it's that perceived value that Dan was talking about. So I say my quote is X, and for that it's bullet pointed to voice for you, to edit for you, so you get a broadcast quality, clean produced file. If it's non-broadcast usage, i.e. client website, e-learning, YouTube, option to direct me via Skype, IPDTL, Source Connect, ISDN or similar, and I set out all these things, and so they think, do you know what, this isn't a guy just talking into a microphone in his bedroom, this is what hire of my studio, of course. That's another one. So there's about 7 or 8 bullet points, so they know exactly what they're getting there for their money. It's not just my voice on an MP3. It's much, much more than that.
Right. Simone.
No, what I wanted to say is that when you deal with international clients, it's very important to, and especially if they are first-time clients, that you ask from them to pay you 50% at least in advance. I think
it's common.
Very important. And if they come to you directly because they are absolutely delighted with your work, they are fascinated with what you do, and they are not doubting at all that they would look for someone else. And if they live in the United States or overseas, I have no problem in asking them to pay up front if they are first-time clients. At least I suggest the possibility to them if they can do it. And many times I was very lucky, because if they come to you very decided on what they want and that they want you want me, hey. Okay.
Yeah. Cristina, you've been awful quiet. What do you think about all this talk about rates and being paid and?
I'm just listening, just absorbing. I'm just glad that we have these forums, because I just think things are changing by the day right now in terms of the international relationships that we are all able to have now as independent voiceover talent and as producers and as companies. And I just think these educational forums are more important than ever, because everyone is now encountering any individual that can look somebody else up on the internet and reach out to them and begin a process like this. So, being prepared.
Global marketplace.
Yep. So I just think it's great that we're sharing this info. So I'm not sure if there's anything else I could input.
I'd like to just have ask a quick question to any of you on the panel. Do you have a preferred software that you use that deals with international currencies for accounting?
Google.
Because
just to see the currencies?
No, to actually work within, because I know I've had my own issues with accounting softwares dealing with foreign currency and being able to track and account for it. I ran into many problems with QuickBooks, for example. The desktop version is a little different than the online version. The online version now accepts, currency rates. And people can pay in foreign currencies. So I was just wondering what softwares you guys might use that works well if you do a lot of international work.
No, I just use the dollars. The US dollar is the international currency for everyone. And internationally speaking, those companies that are willing to hire you convert automatically what you're willing to pay into US dollars, because it's the most international currency available.
Cristina?
I usually also convert into U.S. dollars, and when I was negotiating with studios where the currency conversion was very important, we would do. And it varies by the day. We would create an estimate that they would then approve and sign, and then when we did the final payment, we would use the currency rate that was on the day that we signed to do the payment, so that it was all documented.
I use a software program called OANDA, OANDA. And it stays very much up to date on the current exchange. So,
and do you get paid in different currencies, Dan?
I do. I accept payment in pretty much any currency. Like I said, particularly if I can take it to PayPal, because I can hold it in that currency until the exchange rate is better. Or if the exchange rate is very good at the time, then I just automatically convert.
Right. The difficulty I find is, which apparently isn't a difficulty, I keep asking accountants about it all the time, because I think this is going to eventually change, is everybody's going to want their cut in taxes. So, right now it's a little difficult where 3/4 of my income is really US dollar, and I'm Canadian. So when I'm doing my Canadian taxes, it's really odd because I'm not collecting as much tax as my income is showing, but I can't charge them the tax because they're not from my country, yet I'm doing the work here. So I'm really curious as to how that's going to change in time, because I think somehow they're going to want their cuts because there's a lot of foreign dollars that are going tax in currencies that they're going to want to see. I don't know if you guys have found that. I just know I asked my accountants, and they're like, "No, you're doing all you can do. You charge them. We have GST, HST, TST, all these other taxes that we have to charge on everything we pay."
I'm getting an echo from you, Deb.
Yeah.
We're getting an echo
from you, Deb.
Oh, sorry.
You know what? It is about an hour that we've been talking here. It just has gone like that, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time, especially Mehmet, who I'm sure is getting tired.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
I stand amazed.
Nice to be with you.
I stand amazed at this technology and your willingness to come here for this hour and share your wisdom.
Yes,
Wow.
thank you.
I'm just blown away by all the information that came out in this hour, and I'm going to recommend this really highly to everybody to listen to. So Dan and Mehmet and Deb and Cristina, Simone, Darren, and my lovely co-host Anne, I just give great thanks. This is being recorded. I will doctor this up and make it presentable and post it later this evening. I will send you each a link. It'll be on the WoVO website. It'll be on our WoVO YouTube channel, my blog. Feel free to use and distribute and repurpose as you wish.
Yes, please.
I will
Any final words, Anne?
blog too.
Oh, I'm sorry, Simone?
I'm going to republish it too on my blog.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm just so excited that we can do this on a monthly basis, because I really feel that we're making an impact and we're helping provide a resource that's needed in the community. So thank you all for your wisdom and your knowledge, and for standing up for getting fair pay and fair rates, and it really, I believe, is going to make a huge impact on all of us as a collective. So thank you all.
Thanks,
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.